You said you were sitting in your truck and it was a crazy quote because you're like listening to lyrics of Fury. You're like, this is the best song ever created.
I was just having a moment. It was a good beat though.
It was a good beat.
And I was just having a moment.
Okay. I like that. Because I remember this one obscure Organized Confusion interview where they were like, a room should only have pictures of Rakim on it. And there should only be pictures of Rakim in a room.
Wow.
So these dudes are really all about that. So I like to hear that shit. So you play the drums, you play the keys, and on Wikipedia it says you play the turntables, and they have some weird things on there.
I've never put anything on my Wikipedia. I just kind of look at it and laugh. And I see what other people have put up there. There's, every once in a while people go crazy. Like I'm not even gonna address it, but yeah, I have never put anything on my Wikipedia myself, but I should.
You should.
I just don't. Whoever does it, for the most part, does a good job. Shout out to whoever does my Wikipedia. I can fake the drums a little bit, and I can fake the keys a little bit. I can get around the keyboard and the drums.
There was that video footage of you playing along to show them what you got.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I have my moments,
okay.
But like, if I had to do it for more than like 3 minutes, my arms would just get all tired and I would just be all off beat.
Alright.
Shout out to all the drummers who rock for like an hour at a concert. I know how they do it.
No doubt. Why did you agree to do this Stylus conference with us, Vancouver?
Well, once
you're busy.
Once he explained it to me, like what it was all about, what it was trying to bring to the local community. I like doing things like that because when I was young, like you touched on earlier, we didn't have anything like that. You especially me being where I was from, like if you weren't from New York, you didn't matter at a certain point. Even though I'm from Jersey, which is right across the water, it's far enough where it's not like you can't walk outside and like just see Rakim walking down the street. I'll ask him a question, or see Run or somebody and just be like, hey, so how did you guys come up with X, Y? You can't do that, Whereas if you lived in New York and to a lesser extent LA, you might catch somebody in the street, But even if you did, it's not like you'll run up on him and interview him,
Right.
So now the time's changing, the technology changing, the resources changing. It's cool to be able to give back a little bit to the people who help get you where you're at now.
Because you probably, when you were younger and starting out, you wanted, that's what you're saying, you would love to.
It would have been nice to have, but it wasn't even a thought. Like, I wish somebody had a panel where I could go watch producers talk. It wasn't even a thought. It just, things like that didn't exist, that type.
No doubt. So what made you get into more of the social media? And is that useful for you? I know it is. Or is it more for your own entertainment? Like, what made you kind of get into it? Because it's debatable whether it's useful or not, right?
I've always been kind of early with technology in general. Like, I might not have been the first, but I don't know of anybody else who was doing like everybody's on Ustream now.
Right.
I don't know if anybody else in hip hop who was doing that before I was. And then even early with like MySpace and things like that. I was on Twitter early, but I never used it until the entire world was on it. I kind of slept on that a little bit, even though I had the account. Social media is cool depending on what your goal is,
right.
Or what your ultimate plan is, or what you use it for, rather.
What do you use it for specifically? I was on Foursquare so long ago, by the way.
I've never
on that shit.
I've never been on Foursquare.
Don't do it. I got off.
I'm not doing that or Foursquare.
Yeah, but what did you?
For me, it's really just a way to stay in touch with the people in general. You know what I mean? Like I said, you're only as good as the people beside you are. Really, you could be the greatest rapper in the world. If nobody knows who you are, if there's no awareness, or if you have no presence, it doesn't really matter because you're not making an impact. So the more you stay in touch with the people, and the more you kind of open yourself up to them, I feel like you're more liable to have support. When you need it. Like for example, the Exhibit C record. If me and Jay didn't have the social media presence that we had, that record probably wouldn't really be taken off the way it did. Because part of the reason it succeeded so well is because we were on, the one time in my life I've ever campaigned for anything was on Twitter with that record.
You ever which?
Was that ever campaigned for anything? Like, I'm not really a salesman. I don't really get on there. Like, if you notice, when you look at like my Twitter or my MySpace back in the day, I never talked about shows that I was doing. I don't talk about records I have coming out. That was the one time that I ever got online and was like, people, I need you to buy this record. I need you to support this record. Support hip-hop. It's only $1, blah, 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 that whole thing. Like, but if we didn't have that outreach that we did at the time, that record may not have been as much of a success as it was. And then on the other hand, I just use it for entertainment. Because people are crazy. When you're on the internet, it's anonymous, or people like to hide behind the fact that they're anonymous, that you can't see their faces. Yeah. So they like to talk a little crazy.
I see you respond to some people.
Yeah, what they don't know is that I will pull a Jay and Silent Bob and show up at their house. I'm planning on doing that sometime before the end of the year. I'm trying to pop up at somebody's house randomly.
Amazing. Everyone got to start somewhere. How do up-and-comers in 2010 who want to follow in your footsteps, not literally like do exactly what you did, but like producers might be sitting in this room right now that are like as hungry as you were, talented, they're sitting here right now, like in 2010, what the fuck did Just Blaze, what can you tell them as good words of advice?
It's tough now, or I shouldn't say it's tough now, because it's
actually more specifically, how do they get their beats into the right hands?
How do you get your beats into the right hands? Well, let me think about that one for a second. I think really it's tough because, like, when you're in a place like this that's so far removed from the epicenters of the music business. What I usually tell people is if you're in a situation, like these days, if you're in a situation like that, where you're out, you're not in New York or in Miami or Atlanta or whatever, the best way to bring attention is to start your own local movement, and, if you have the savvy to use social media to your advantage, sometimes that's the best way to do it. Because you can go out and sit in front of offices all day and stalk A&Rs, and get their email addresses and spam them with music. But that's only going to annoy them most of the time. Yeah. It annoys me. Like, I have no problem. Like, people get overzealous sometimes. Like, I have an email address that I share somewhat publicly, but I always tell people, just send me a link, and I'll probably check it out. Don't send me 10 attachments, because I'm automatically deleting your email. And I say that to say you can't be too overzealous in your approach when you do come across somebody. But there are a lot of things like this panel. There's Cha has his conference. There are a lot of conferences that pop up where you will, or even like the ASCAP BMI conferences. Well, you'll have to travel, but you'll find, you never know who you might see walking down the hall, and if you do have the chance to come across somebody and share, your music with them, be creative with it. I'll be honest, I get CDs all the time, and they never really get listened to, because I get so many, I don't have so much space. But somebody gives me a flash drive, or I've even been given iPod shuffles, where it's like, okay.
So does it give you the shuffle?
Yeah, people somebody gave you one last week.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Just be a little more creative with it, because that's something that the person will actually maybe more apt to just, all right, let's be one to the extent of buying a couple of iPod shuffles in case he met certain people. You have to give them the time of day. Just be creative in your delivery, for one, but for two, back to what I was originally saying, start your own local movement. You've seen examples of that throughout history, from Nelly to Cash Money to NWA to Luke in Miami to the scene in Atlanta. Yeah. Start your own local movement, organized, or even even to a New York extent, Wu-Tang, even though they were from New York, nobody was really checking for Staten Island like that. RZA went and did it himself. Yeah. Put it out himself and did it independently and forced the world to come to them and their sound. So it's like, but I notice a lot in hip hop. A lot of guys, it's just, they don't really have a team. It's just, yeah, I make beats,
Right.
you know, or I rap. You know, all right, well, it's like if you rap and you're from here, you should have 4 other dudes that you link with, you know, that you work with, even if it's not, you're not in a group, but you guys have your own little network, everybody trying to help each other out, put each other on, and you guys have producers that you work with in-house, DJs that you work with in-house.
That's a good ass answer right there.
You know, and if you look at every region that has blown up, they've had some kind of system like that. Even the most recent was probably Miami. Anytime you see Rick Ross on the record, you saw T-Pain, you had Catlin on it, you know, and all the other local dudes from there, and ended up becoming a movement.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have a movement behind you.
That was a good answer. Well done.